It's interesting how much progress you can make without noticing how much progress you've made. That's what I have realized recently. Since starting going to the gym and working out, I've made quite a lot of progress. I've gained a lot of weight. I've gotten so much stronger. But although it's been about 4 years since I've been doing that, all this time I've still felt the same way, and every time I've looked at my body, I still felt the same way, and really didn't realize the changes that had been happening. And I really realized it when I look back at an older picture at how skinny I was at the time compared to how skinny I am now, or how much weight I've gained more so. It's very interesting because oftentimes you don't really look back on the progress you've made as much. Oftentimes at the end of the year you'll do a review and you're like, okay, I did this year, and I did this year. I like doing this, I didn't like doing this. Next year I want to do more of this, next year I want to do more of that. But oftentimes for me, and I think many people, they don't really look at where did I develop and what progress was made in this last year. And if you don't do that, you don't really realize how far you've gotten. So whoever's watching this, I do very much want to urge you to think about the progress you're making, not only on the long term, but also on the short term. You know, just reflect a bit more on that, besides just the things that you're doing. Because I personally do that. I've found out that oftentimes I'm reflecting on the things I've done and the good habits I'm doing and the bad habits I'm doing and how I want to change that, because I'm going towards the person I want to become. But actually, I should also have a look at, you know, where have I progressed and where maybe have I gone backwards, and what are the things I actually want to progress more on, which things am I progressing on which are not very useful. It's all something you don't really realize that much. Yeah. I kind of wanted to start with that because the progress you're making is not, you don't really appreciate it very much if you don't think about it, if you don't look at it, if you don't track it in some way or reflect upon it. And if you don't appreciate the progress you're making, it might feel like you're really just staying in the same place all the time. For me, for example, I've been in a relatively similar financial position for the last few years, and now it's going better, and it's been improving recently. But now that I look back on those years that I was working and trying different things and developing myself, I see that all of the years that I worked before this, where my situation wasn't improving in a tangible sense in how much money I was making, for example, all of that experience was all developing me into the person I needed to be to then be able to start making more money at some point and take the opportunities that I had and make the most of them. And I think that's one of the things, as I'm speaking, I realize, is that oftentimes you might measure the progress you've made by like physical and tangible things, but you can very much develop and learn new things without that being very clear on the outside. And so it might not feel like you're developing, but you actually are, you know? Whether that's on the side of building skills or mentally. When I look back at a few years ago, where I was at in my head and what I was thinking and how I thought about the world and things around me, but also how I looked at situations, I now recognize that I very much have changed the way I look at things and think about things. And to me, it's in a positive direction. I think in a good direction, and I feel happier with that. But it's not really that noticeable in everyday life, because you just get used to it. You just get used to all of the small, tiny changes and all of the small, tiny improvements that you're making. And because they're so small and they don't all happen at once, you don't really realize the big impact it's having over your life, over the long term, over the years or the months. It's quite interesting. That was all. I'll see you tomorrow.